You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. Our presenting sponsor is the end-to-end production solution, Green Slate. Whether it's start paperwork, time cards, purchase orders, or reports, everything is digital, everything is on the app, and you can work from wherever you are. The future is actually here. And if you'd like to hear this pitch in person or see it for yourself, call me as I am working there. Here's my number, 310-789-2001, extension 323, or julie.walker@gslate.com. Now back to my weekend job. For today's episode, I spoke with the prolific filmmaker Emily Aguilar. She's been out of college for about 5 minutes and has already made and sold 3 feature films. Emily is an award-winning film director in Los Angeles, known for creating emotional impact for her audience and narrative films. She's the director and producer for The Momentum Productions and has films distributed by Bridgestone, Pure Flix, the Dove Foundation, and Amazon Prime. She's the founder of the 5th Annual Global Impact Film Festival held in Washington, D.C. every August. A Washington, D.C. native of Latino heritage, she has a competitive edge who aims to provoke, educate, and inspire her audience in both her creative and commercial productions. Emily is currently in post-production on her 3rd feature film, Breeze Bake Off Challenge. Follow her journey online, and I will link to all her handles on my website. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. And also the full season of Catch a Break, The Insider's Guide to Getting Into and Navigating Hollywood, is now available on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places and on the website, catchabreakpodcast.com. Go check that one out too, because we are actively working on season 2. All right, here's my conversation with Emily Aguilar. Have a listen. What do you do?
I am a film director and producer, and I've been in the industry for over 5 years now.
Mm-hmm. And you've made a bunch of feature films already.
Yes, I have made 3 so far.
Feature length?
Yes.
Independent, financed?
Yes, both independent. Actually, all 3 are independently based. We have private investments, and in some cases I've actually put my own money, so it's been a journey.
So you just did it.
Yeah, after college, honestly, I didn't want to sit on a topic. I wanted to make the movie. I wanted to see what this big deal was about, because making a feature film is a big deal. It's a big endeavor, and I really just wanted to jump in and do it.
Were you a film major?
Yes.
At where?
Loyola Marymount University. Mm-hmm.
So you didn't grow up here, right?
No, I'm from DC originally.
So you moved out here to go to college?
Yes.
Majored in film, came out. So you didn't say, I'm going to go work as a PA and work my way up. You're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, no, I definitely did that during college too. And all throughout college, I actually worked at a production company working as an assistant to the executive. And then I ended up being a production coordinator 2-3 years later. And this is by my junior year in college.
Oh,
so
you got to it.
Yeah, I already got to it. And I was lucky enough that he guided me and really made me have tough skin. And from that, like from graduating college, I was like, okay, I've had a boss for the past 4 years in a production company. He's taught me a lot. And he actually was like, yeah, go for it. Like making a movie is amazing. And you've helped me with all these projects in the company. So go ahead and just do it. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I took the leap.
That's awesome. Tell me the titles.
Okay, so my first film is Clara's Ultimate Christmas. It's a feature film for children. So if you have any nephews, nieces that love Christmas, it's available on Amazon Prime.
Great.
And other stores like Target and Walmart, like on their online stores and stuff.
Did you get distribution on your first feature film out of college?
Yes.
How?
The short answer is a lot of research and honestly asking a lot of producers how they did it. And honestly, because I know distribution is really difficult for filmmakers, like that's also another humongous ordeal. It is really difficult and tedious, but if you do your research and take the necessary steps to do it, it's totally possible.
It's figure-outable.
Yes. To give you a short answer, to help other filmmakers who want to find distribution, I went to the American film market, made my meetings, pitched my movie, and sold it. I got some bites and sold it. Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Okay, what's your next movie?
So my second movie is a complete opposite. It's a horror film called Pipeline. It's about a monster that can travel through pipes and suck the life out of you.
Sure.
So yeah, it was a super fun concept that we just went with. And that one, same ordeal. I went to AFM and we actually got distribution for it last year. So I'm really excited, and they're getting ready to prep it on Amazon, Hulu, and other platforms.
Say the title of that?
Pipeline.
Okay, and then what's the third one?
The third one I'm really excited about. This is the biggest film that I've directed so far. It's called Bree's Bake Off Challenge, and it's a family comedy, baking movie. So if you love like the Food Network or the Great British Bake Off, which I just love baking shows, this is a really cute feature movie that I made about a girl trying to get into this baking competition, and she has an arch nemesis named Vanessa, who's like a little bit of a bully, and there's all these funny things that happen, and it's just really fun. This is honestly like the biggest movie that I've done, and it's like the biggest production. We had over 60 cast members on set. What? And yeah, it was crazy, but we did it, and it looks amazing. So I'm just like really excited.
Say the title of that one again.
Bree's Bake Off Challenge.
Bree's Bake Off Challenge. Do you have your next project you're working on?
Of course you do. My next movie, I can't say too much, but it's a dancing movie. So think of Step Up, Moulin Rouge, and Honey. My favorite dancing
You're going to
movies.
do a musical.
Yes, but it's not so much singing. It's more dancing, because I also love dancing. And I don't want to talk about too much about the concept, but it's something that I'm really excited about. And I've actually wanted to do this for a long time. And now that I have these 3 features behind me, I'm able to, aim for bigger investments and, just keep upping my projects the most that I can. So I kind of waited for this one.
Are you writing these as well?
Yes.
So you are not going to be pigeonholed into a genre?
I don't think so. I don't want to be. I've definitely talked to a lot of people, and they're definitely like, Emily, you should only do horror. You should only do family. You should only do dance movies. And I don't see, like, I see the benefit of doing that. But for me personally, if I kept doing horror, like 10 features later, I'd get bored of it. I wouldn't have my heart into it. The way that I pick my projects and write them is making sure that I love the concept and making sure that I give justice to the characters and, give the audience something fun to watch is really my aim. Like, while I'm writing Bree's Bake Off Challenge, I'm actually like cracking up myself like in the living room, and I'm just like, this is hilarious. I hope other people think it's hilarious. So, it's like that kind of feel. Like, I hope people enjoy what I write, because I personally do enjoy it in my own little ways. So
tell me about your process. How do ideas come to you?
Oh my goodness, that's really interesting. I don't know, actually. That's it. I'll just go for the baking movie. Like, the baking movie was an interesting concept because I had a location set. Like, I had a location, I'll just go ahead and say my high school that I went to. I had spoke to them because I was featured in their alumni newsletter. And this is after my first 2 features. So I was like, they were like, they really wanted me to film in the school and like take advantage and like, kind of bring the alumni-ness to the school more, because they want more engagement.
That's great.
And so the baking concept was just something that, like, I love baking shows and food and just watching it, and I love watching people make things.
As does all of America.
Exactly. And so I just literally in my head, I was like, I love watching this myself, and I love competition movies. What if I mixed this baking competition movie, made it into like this awesome narrative? And that's kind of where it arose. So I'd say if anything, when I start to think of a concept, I definitely think of what an audience would want to watch that I also enjoy as well. One of the things that makes me love filmmaking so much is when I was younger, my parents, they would take me to the movies and we'd all sit there together, have popcorn and just watch this movie and react to it together. And I just remember it was just like one of the first movies that I watched in the theater, I think, was Titanic. Oh. Yes, I was very young.
Epic.
Yeah, and I go with my family and they go all out with the candy and popcorn and Slurpees. And And then...
And theaters were packed for that movie.
It was packed. And I remember when the ship is sinking and Rose's mom, she's staring at the ship and it's sinking. Her nose is really pink. And I scream, basically. I'm like, why is her nose so red? And like everyone's crying, but that was my initial reaction. And then they start laughing and I'm like, oops. Like thinking back at it now, I'm like, sorry, audience. I totally ruined that sad moment for you. But just going to the movie theater with your family or really whoever, but for me, I've always gone with my family. That really motivates me to make these movies that I think a lot of people enjoy. So that's why I started with the family, and then a lot of people like horror, and then, you know, I don't know, that's just my thinking process. It's kind of a long answer.
No, it's good. I'm curious about, because you strike me as fearless. Like you're not waiting for permission or waiting to be invited into this business. You're just doing it. Where do you think that confidence comes from?
My family, for sure. My family, like, we're so close, and I'm the youngest of 4. Mm-hmm. So I have an older brother and 2 older sisters, and I literally look up to them so much. I go to them for confidence, honestly. There are days where I just feel so, like, not good. I just feel really down on myself, and then I have to call them, and I'll, you know, vent myself and vent to them, and then they basically light the fire in me. They're like, you will take no for an answer. You will do it. And I don't care how you're feeling. Like, cry about it if you have to. But tomorrow you're going to send that email or, you know, call that person and make it happen. And I'm just like, okay. So, I mean, and this is a lot for people too, because I know a lot of filmmakers may not have family members like that, but definitely build friendships like that, because you have to have someone to call whenever you're feeling down. I honestly wouldn't be able to make these features without them, because as you can see that it's an independent movie, we had so many struggles. Even if we had the budget, there's still so many things that need to plan and organize ahead of time. So there are major bumps in the roads that you hit, but they definitely like help me emotionally get past it, and it's just they're amazing, and I just love them so much.
Are you producing as well? Mm-hmm. Have you kind of gathered a team around you now that you work with consistently?
Yes. So Claire's Ultimate Christmas and Pipeline were definitely like my first go at it, you know, films. And ever since then, I now have a team of definitely like 5 team people that are always there for me that I can call. And then I have like another 5 people that are like, if they're available, then they'll help me, which is totally understandable. But I definitely have my team that they're there for me, and we've been through so much. And I have some people that have been there with me since day one, like my sound guy. He's been there ever since Claire's Ultimate Christmas, Pipeline, and Bree's Bake Off Challenge. His girlfriend is a graphic designer, so she came on board and helped with some poster images and some logo things. So it just grew into this beautiful family, and they're honestly amazing. Those are more people I can call for help and you know, get my head straight. Like if I'm freaking out, I have another producer, Michaela, who's amazing, and she'll be like, Emily, you're overreacting, like everything's fine. And I'm like, okay, thanks. You know. So level-minded.
Are you starting to think about leadership in addition to the filmmaking?
Yes, I think so. With directing, it was really funny. So for my fundraiser page, I have a lot of the actors coming in, and I interviewed them so that I can post it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the actors actually said, I've never been directed by a woman before. And I didn't know that because I interviewed them after the fact that we shot the movie. And
they didn't tell you while you were doing it?
No, they didn't tell me. And
then what'd they say?
Yeah, it was really interesting. They're like, a lot of them are like, I've never been directed by a woman. I've never really been in a production where over 60% of the cast and crew are female and people of color, which is what we all have in my features.
Wonderful.
So it was really interesting to hear that. And for some of the male actors, they were like, it took me a minute to actually, you know, adjust to this new phenomenon of listening to a female. But they said that they loved it and it was a nurturing experience. So I'm like, good, because
that's right.
It is, yeah.
Good. Have you come across, like when you're fundraising or starting to make these films, have you come across any obstacles or naysayers or people saying, you know, what do you think you're doing? You're not ready to do this yet?
Oh, yeah, for sure. One of the major obstacles is how young I look. Mm-hmm. And I'll say I'm 25 years old right now. And just even going into the American film market, because that's one of the locations where I went to pitch for fundraising as well. I go in and predominantly the audience at American film market, it is, 50-year-old men who happen to be white.
Right.
So I walk in looking like a little Latin girl. And so a funny story, I walk into an office ready to pitch my movie. I have my movie poster. I have all my stuff. In my blazer, my heels, put some lipstick on, trying to make myself,
You're a grown up.
look older. and one of the guys in the companies goes, "Oh, are you our new intern?" And I'm just like, I have a film to present to you, mister.
That's right.
And really funny story, a company that they shared an office with ended up buying my Christmas movie. So just a really funny thing.
That's a beautiful irony.
I know, it is. So I think about that time, but in terms of obstacles, definitely my age has a big thing to do with it because I am young. But now the fact that I'm in my third feature and that I've sold my past two, it's definitely given me, a level up and more confidence to my investors. So I feel good about that. When you're first starting out and getting fundraising, I think the most important thing is know that being a woman is going to be a factor, even if people aren't conscious of it. Mm-hmm. Same thing with age, but I try not to let that hinder my presentation and all the information, all the facts about the movie. I just present it, and it is what it is, and that can't change based on my gender or age. So
it sounds like you're super prepared.
Yes.
When you go in.
Yeah.
Are you finding in the current climate, like this year, do people seem more eager to fund stories about people of color?
I do, actually. It's a big thing because people are starting to notice that the entertainment industry, Hollywood, is very
white.
Yes.
They're starting to notice.
Yeah, everyone is noticing it. Not even just Hollywood. I freelance. I'll make videos for businesses, and even businesses are coming to me and saying, "Hey, we need more diversity in our videos, in our all these corporate videos." And it's so true because a lot of the customers, a lot of the people buying these movies, they're not white. They're people of color, and they don't see themselves on screen. So if you're Black, Latin, Asian, and you see a white man on the movie poster, now people are starting to think, oh wait, that's not me. Why would I want to watch that movie? So it's definitely, investors are definitely looking into stories from females and people of color. The most important thing though is that you have to have your information, your demographics, all of the facts that you can possibly have about the movie down to a T, because they still want to know every single,
you have to reassure them, I would think.
Yeah, for
with
sure.
all the data.
Mm-hmm. But it's good though because the interest is there and the demand is getting higher. So as long as all of us females and people of color stick to our professionalism and make sure our formats and stuff like that are good and punctuated and all that stuff, then that'll get their interest.
Now, what have you learned over the course of doing this as you're pitching?
I've learned that you have to be confident for sure. Mm-hmm. You can't question yourself. And I do question myself a lot actually, but when you're in the room, you have to know your movie like front end and back. And the other most important thing, like confidence, but also passion for the project. The Christmas movie, for example, is based on a little girl who wants the ultimate Christmas, but her parents happen to be divorcing. Mm. And then she has a dog, and the dog runs away, and it's lost. So these problems that...
It's just terrible. It's a bad year.
Just not a good Christmas. And that's actually relatable because that actually happened to me.
Oh.
So... but that happens a lot to a bunch of kids.
And the dog too?
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So you just, when you talk about a project, you have to be passionate about it and make sure that it makes sense to why you're writing it or even making it in the first place. So for the Christmas movie, I was basically like, this is my Christmas movie that I've gathered from experience, and I think it'll help other kids going through the same thing, make the best out of their situation. And it has like a message to it, and it's not always happy and go lucky like a lot of other past Hollywood movies have made. It's more real because I know like divorce in general like is a huge thing in a lot of people's lives, and especially children. So I think confidence and passion are the two things that you have to have when pitching to anyone, especially investors.
What did your parents make of that movie?
They loved it. They really did. My parents, they divorced when I was like 4 years old, and I didn't really think about it really when it happened. I didn't.
You were so little.
Yeah, but I did start to realize, like, wait a second, my parents aren't together in high school. And in high school is when I actually had more difficult, like, people would have their parents come to all these meetings, and, you know, mine had to be separated, you know. But it's been years, and luckily they're okay to be in the same room now. But they know, like, since I was the youngest, that I had a difficult time with it. And I did put it in my movies, and I said, hey, family, like, I'm putting this, but, you know, I love you, and it's all for good. And they're like, don't worry, Emily, like, you got it. I was like, okay, thanks.
Well, they all sound incredibly supportive.
Yeah, really supportive. Mm-hmm.
What is your big goal, your big dream?
My big goal, to be an Oscar-winning female director. Best director, best picture. Oscars 2030, maybe?
Put a date on it.
I don't know. In the future, I know it's going to take time. So
maybe.
Yeah, I know it's going to take time, and hopefully sooner. But that'll be the pinnacle for me, honestly. To, you know, I do picture myself up on that stage, thanking my family and everyone involved, and that's a really big motivator because, you know, these movies they're not really for me. They're for audience members to really get something out of. So if I could do that, then it would just make me super happy.
I'd say you have a huge head start.
Thank you.
You are way on your way. Tell me how you knew you wanted to be a filmmaker. I know you went and saw the movies and had the great experience, but how did you know, like, oh, I can do this. I can write a movie. I can make one.
So I didn't always know. In high school, I would do theater and acting. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until one of my acting coaches was like, you should try and be an actress. And I was like, what? Like, being in D.C., Virginia, that's not really...
It's not the hub of Hollywood.
It really isn't. I was literally going to go into real estate or insurance, like my family members. Like, that was the plan. But he really motivated me. He was like, if you want to do acting, then New York or L.A. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I picked L.A. And I tried out acting. I had an agent. I did the whole audition thing for like a year. I hated it because you're treated like a product, and I give so much respect to actors because it is such hard work. It's hard. Really,
it's hard emotional work.
Yes, emotional roller coaster, and sometimes they'll give you the audition times, you know, the night before, like at 10 o'clock, and your audition's like at 8 a.m. the next day, and it's like, what? Okay, it's like an hour away with traffic, you know.
Were you originally going to be an acting major?
Not an acting major. I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. When I came to LA, I wanted to study film for sure, but I did focus on acting. But yeah, so I did that the first year, and that was my freshman year in college, and I just didn't like it, so got rid of my agent, and I just stayed with school and kept studying and, you know, making sure I passed. And then it was at my school where they're like, try these film classes, try these extracurriculars. I actually had a friend who was like, Emily, can you help organize my film for my short because I don't have anybody? And I was like, okay, sure. So I ended up organizing all of it, and weeks of organizing and actually producing it, I ended up being the producer of it. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being a bigger budget than I've ever had. That was my first short film ever. It was like a $15,000 budget.
For student film?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And this one project was so big, and it was my first short. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm responsible for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 3 other producers with me, but, you know, it was like a big endeavor. But anyways, after I finished that short film, it turned out amazing. I loved being in charge of just things. And ever since then, other friends were like, hey, you did this person's film, can you do mine? And I was like, sure. You know, so I produced all these short films, and then it wasn't until LMU was like, hey, Emily, this is your junior year, you have to direct now. And I never saw myself as a director. I was like, whoa, I've only produced for men as directors. Like, I can't do this. Like, I really, in my head, I thought, I can't do this. And they're like, well, you have to because it's part of the curriculum. And I'm like, I was so afraid, to be honest. But it's one of those things where you can't let fear get in the way, obviously, because you have to pass and you have to get your degree. Mm-hmm. So I wrote this short film called Reminiscence, and I produced it, I directed it, and to write what you envision in your head and actually see it on screen, like, was the best feeling ever, especially because this short film is like a little bit of a tearjerker, but it's something really close to me. And when it finished, it was just the most amazing feeling. And at that moment, I realized this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
You were hooked.
I was hooked, yeah. Especially because when you choose to direct even and produce, you can, if you have any interest, like if you want to go do a sci-fi, you go do a sci-fi and you go learn all about this science stuff. Like whatever you want, you can do, which I think is the most amazing thing, like about movies and just this profession in general.
Because it's so expansive.
Yes. And I'm one to research and read up a lot and watch things, and the fact that I get to learn on the job, you know, is amazing. So
how did your acting background help you deal with actors?
Oh, that was amazing, because when you're on screen and even taking direction by directors, sometimes when I've acted, I felt awkward because they said something that I didn't really understand. So I think it's helped me so much on set. I tell my actors, I'm like, if you're confused or if you need anything, you let me know. For all my movies, with me being in LA, and the movies we actually did shoot in DC and Virginia, I Skyped with them beforehand, so they knew me. They knew the way that I speak to them, even about the lines, going over the script. And I just tell them, like, we're here to make the best possible movie, and in doing that, we both need to be comfortable with each other. So you help me by, you know, getting your lines down and bringing that raw emotion, and I'll help you directing you in the right path, kind of thing. So I think a lot of actors, you know, take that, and they appreciate that because they've said that to me too. Especially with most of my films, I have children, so you have to have a lot of patience. And these children that I've worked with, they act like they're like 20 and they're only like 10, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, they're so mature, and they really do take it as a profession. All the actors that I casted, that's one of the things I make sure: personality and then their professionalism. So. For sure, acting has helped, and I still like to dabble in it. Definitely not as much because I like being behind the camera, but I like to play with it and learn more about myself too. So I think that definitely helps.
What do you know now that you wish you had known when you started?
Ooh, that's a good one. This is a little bit of cliche, but I really wish that I knew that everything was going to be okay.
We all want to know that.
But, you know, the thing is that when you're making the movies and you have all these issues that may not be as big of an issue, but in your mind and in your body, it feels like the biggest problem that you could possibly have ever. So your body is just tense and stressed and nervous. So that's like a little picture into how making these movies have been difficult.
How do you deal with that? Do you have like a meditation practice, or do you actively do something?
Yes, meditation. I take baths. I really do have to talk it out with my family. But, you know, that's one of those things, like, when you're making a movie and you come across, like, an issue, you think it's the biggest issue, but then you have to, like, get past it some way. And people always would tell me, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. And I never believe them. So thinking back on it now, like these past 5 years making these features and stuff, like, I really wish that there was some way that I could believe that it'll be okay, because I really didn't up until like now.
Because things always do work out.
They do, yeah, they really do, in ways that you would never think sometimes. But it's just that thing, like, if you're going through like a crazy struggle, you have to like take yourself out of it in some way. And I did that through meditation, baths, talking to my family, take a walk out in the park, go like literally leave the city and just take a breather, because sometimes you're in your head or even in your home and it just doesn't help. So you need to like get out of it and just breathe, honestly. And then that's how like I was able to get over it. And even though I didn't necessarily believe that it'd be okay, I would be like, okay, let me just try. And then now here we are. It's good.
And it works out.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people who are coming up behind you?
I would definitely say, do not let fear stop you. Fear is something that I know personally stops a lot of people. I was 18 years old. I moved to LA by myself. Being a big family girl, like, that was like a big deal.
Brave.
But I was afraid. I was scared, but I still did it anyways. making a movie is super scary, and it's like this big question mark of like what's going to happen, but you can't let that stop you. And I'd say if filmmakers are out there thinking of making a feature, definitely don't let fear stop you. Make it and just take the steps to, make the best one possible. Like, don't let someone say, hey, I think you should do this in like 2 years or 3 years. Like, I got that a lot, especially because of how young I am. And I'm like, I think I'm going to do this now.
Yeah. Get out of the way.
Yeah, I'd rather get started now. Like, now is the time, because wherever you start, you're going to be far ahead later. So that's what I'd say to filmmakers.
So feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yep.
Have you had those moments where you like walk onto your set with all your people and just take a moment to be, oh my God, look what's happening?
Yeah, I love that feeling. For 2 days for Breeze Bake Off Challenge, we shot this in the past June, and we had 80 people on set. For 2 days, and a lot of them, like 30, 40 of them were kids too.
And was it at your high school?
It was at my high school. Yeah, it was amazing. I'll show you the picture after.
Yeah.
And I just look, because we're in the cafeteria and we're doing the baking competition scenes. So this is a really big scene where we have a baking competition, we have a bunch of food props involved, and then we have the audience in the actual movie as well, like all the extras cheering and whatnot. And I literally walk in the morning and I'm like, this is going to be a big day. But then I look at everybody working so hard, and it's all because of, my team and all of us just putting all these hard hours, and people really do love the script. And the fact that everyone's giving their time for this project, I always have to stop and think and be grateful and thankful for everybody. And then you kind of turn on your switch and like, okay, time to shoot.
Yeah, now we're going to work.
Yep. Yeah.
That's great. What do you make of kind of what has happened with women in the industry in the last few years?
I think we're headed in the right direction. It's a little sad to me, honestly, because ever since this whole conversation started, I look at women and I think women are so amazing as these living things. Like, just think about it. Women are the only people who can multitask and like bring life into their belly, and
literally make people.
Yeah, we make people. And on top of that, we have to work at the same time. Like, not everyone gets maternity leave. And even if you do, I know plenty of women who are still working and breastfeeding, So ever since this conversation, I just think women are like one of the most amazing creatures, and that honestly, like, men kind of take for granted. It's just one of those things. We're headed in the right direction, but I do think that there still is a lot of work to be done. I understand the men's side of it a little bit, because I've in a lot of cases I'm usually the only woman on set, or one of 2 or 3. So I see it all the time, and it's like, you need to have a woman on set that is in charge and that knows what she's doing. And the reason why I think why this whole issue really started is because men like to hire their buddies, which happen to be men. I really think that's like how this whole thing started subconsciously, and then years later here we are, and it's just unequal. So I think we're definitely headed in the right direction. I think bonding more with men and figuring out a really good relationship on how to work with them efficiently will do the industry justice, because men, you have testosterone, and you have to, like, we as females have to deal with that. Whenever, I'll just give you a quick example. Whenever a man is super angry over an issue on set, like let's say the lighting isn't right or something, he'll yell to another man. And I see that because I'm like, I'm right there.
Yeah.
And then, but whereas like a woman can come in and be like, hey, I understand how you're feeling. Let's fix this quickly. What are your solutions in terms of just, getting
You can bring a different style.
Yeah, a different style. I hear a lot of people saying, the nurturing aspect of women is something super powerful on set, which is, I think, what I do too. But also still being, straightforward. Like, hey, I know you're upset, but we got to do this. Move on.
So you can hold on to your authority and be nurturing at the same time.
Yes.
Was that something you had to kind of tweak and learn, or is that something you just showed up with?
No, I definitely think tweaked and learned. I mean, from Claire's Ultimate Christmas to Bree's Bake Off Challenge, I'm so much more confident and in the way that I speak and just speaking to people in general. You definitely learn that. You definitely have to have something there, in the beginning and, a passion to like, hey, this is what I want to do and like communicate it effectively. But it definitely grows, and I know I still have growing to do, but I'm really excited because, that's what movies and life is all about, just learning and making the best version of yourself, even though that sounds cliche.
It is true, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did I not ask you about that I should have asked you about?
I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I do own a film festival.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Buried the lead.
Really quickly, 5 years ago, I decided to create a film festival with my sister and my brother-in-law. It was because one of the things that I really love is social justice films, and there aren't that many film festivals that cater to that. So I wanted to create one myself, and an opportunity arose where I had the resources and the capacity to do so. So 5 years ago, I created the Global Impact Film Festival in Washington, D.C. So we're right in the middle of the capital, and this is going to be our 5th year in August, and it was something that I honestly didn't think would be anything, but ever since year 1, we've been doubling in size, and it's grown to be something really amazing. This year we're showcasing 62 short films from over 20 different countries, and it's all about social justice, narratives, and documentaries.
Amazing.
Yes.
And how timely?
Between 3 and 30 minutes is...
I mean, how timely that this festival is happening now.
Oh, yeah.
Did you realize when you started, like, the world's going to be crazy in 5 years?
No, honestly, I the first year, we got a little bit of traction because I happened to know Bill Butler, who is the cinematographer of Grease, Jaws, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Anaconda. I happen to know him because I went to school with his daughter. So my first year making this, I was like, hey, I need your dad to come to my festival. And, we're friends. And she's like, okay. So
that's handy.
Yeah. So him and his wife flew him out to DC. That year, our first year, the festival ended up being the 40th anniversary of Jaws. So we had a lot of,
perfect.
It was just perfect. And so we had so many attendees. I thought it was going to be 0, But we had a bunch of attendees come, and it was just this amazing experience. He's 97 now, and
wow.
he's still kicking, and he's amazing. Like, I was like, "Can I help you with your bags?" He was like, "No, I got it." I was like, "Okay." But he's amazing, and just hearing his experiences about talking with Sylvester Stallone, and just all these amazing people. But anyways, yeah. So something I started 5 years ago. Did not think that it would be what it is now. We're in our 5th year, and we're just growing as much as possible, and it's something that I can do to help support other filmmakers too. And every year I actually do get people saying, hey, I want to help you build this thing, and I'm like, yes, amazing, because it's all of common purpose, making these films to impact the audience emotionally and hopefully make somewhat of a social change, no matter how small. So yeah, that's something I did want to mention.
That's wonderful. Got anything else in your bag?
Yes, but I won't say anymore.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this. I am so excited to watch your career.
Thank you so much. I really love being on your podcast.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Emily Aguilar for sharing her story. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. And you can also follow us on all the social media platforms. And go subscribe to catchabreakpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.